Hi, I'm Eileen Bild. I'm with Hotel Talk, and I have my good friend Frank Zaccari with us today. And we're going to talk about his new book that is called Business and Personal Secrets of Getting Unstuck. And this is a huge topic that I think will be so helpful for everybody that is going to watch our talk today, Frank. So let me introduce you, Frank. Frank
Sure.
is 35 years, senior executive and business owner, keynote speaker, 4-time bestseller author, business advisor, ROKU TV show host, VoiceAmerica host of life-altering events, and he has published 8 books. He leads a workshop at Arizona State University, mentors veterans, and is a mentor and judge at the University of California Entrepreneurship Academy. Boy, I don't know, Frank, if we could add anything else to that.
Well, keeps me busy.
Yes. So today we're going to talk about getting unstuck. And I wanted to start with your book is just loaded with powerful information that I think if someone reads it, they're going to put it down and then come back to it, time and time again, because you share examples and just key points of different aspects of life, business, personal, and how we can keep moving forward and not stay stuck. So one of the things that I wanted to start with was something you put in the book called that talks about the human brain process. We process 11 million pieces of data a second from our 5 senses, and only 50 require us to make a conscious decision. So where's all that other stuff going, right?
Exactly.
So it means the majority of your ideas and beliefs are on autopilot, and you say, maybe that's why you make the same decisions or mistakes over and over. Yet so many people fail to take action. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about getting unstuck and taking action so we don't make the same mistakes or hit our head against the wall and keep doing things over and over. Did you want to start with something?
Sure.
Okay.
The thing that I found, Eileen, is there's four statements that drive me nuts. Best practice in business is one. We've always done it this way. This is the way I am, and it is what it is. I hear those things and it just makes my blood boil, because what I see is you have, as you said, we process so many things and a lot of it is autopilot. It just, boom, this is the answer. This is the reaction. This is the way it's going to be. And we're not thinking, we don't think things through. So there's a lot of ways to go about this. One is a scientific thing called brain entrainment. And I have a partnership with a gentleman named Maury Zelkovich, and he's going to be part of our wellness centers that we're going to open, which we'll talk about later. And that's just simply starting the process of changing the synapses in your brain, which you can do. Most people say, I can't do. Yes, you can. It can be done. There's methods and models to do that. And there's all kinds of different ways, but brain entrainment is one of those ways. But you have to want to do it. And it all comes down to want to. It's like dealing with an addict, all right? They know they need help, but they don't want to go get it.
Right.
So you can't help anybody that doesn't want help. You look at people like Zaccari, who's made it her whole life on dealing with these unconscious biases that come up, and there's just too much data that bombards us. That's the greatest thing about the internet space, is there's so much data, and the worst thing is that there's so much data. You can't process it, so you make these decisions about the way someone looks or the way they dress or where they talk or whatever the case might be. So you instantaneously are zipping through things because we've gotten to a point in life where we don't think and we don't talk. We don't want to sit down and relate. Well, what does that mean? Why am I like that? Why do I do this? Why do I keep making the same mistake over and over again, as opposed to saying, well, that's just the way I am. Okay, it's just an excuse.
Well, I think part of that also is listening and visioning and not staying stuck in the past of, well, we've always done this, and yet change is happening all the time and not keeping up with change, especially in business and or personal relationships, which brings us to your chapter of chasing an unreachable dream. And as I read that chapter, I thought, there's a lot of businesses out there that miss the mark, or they stay stuck in this is the way we always do it. And then other businesses surpass them. I mean, there's Kodak, there's Motorola versus Intel, there's the Oracle story. So I'd love for you to touch base on what you share in the book and how, lessons can be learned from those stories.
One of the big lessons, Eileen, is you got to stop being stubborn, and you have to keep your eyes open and listen. You can't say we're better and therefore we're going to ignore everything. That's what happened with Beta versus the other technology. That's what happened with Motorola versus Intel. Now, I was a product manager at NCR in South Carolina, and we had a Motorola-based system, Motorola chipset, 6810, 6820. All right. Well, Intel was behind. They were behind. They had the 286, right? The 286 chip. The Motorola 6810 was equivalent to the 286. But Motorola just said, "Oh, we're better." Of course, Intel's going to say they've got something coming because they're not there. So Motorola just kept ignoring, and Intel put this massive PR campaign that the 386 is coming and it's going to jump over everything. The 386 just put them on par with Motorola. That's what it did. But they positioned it so much better that when it did come out, they just leaped completely over Motorola. Now, timing also came into play because laptops started to become more in vogue at that point in time, and Intel had a domination in the PC side of the equation. So because Motorola just simply sat back and said, we're ahead of them, we're going to just bypass them. Well, Motorola doesn't even make chips anymore. They just missed the mark so badly that they're out of that business completely. The other one that blows me away was the database world, because I was in the tech sector for a lot of years. And when the Unix operating system was coming out, there were a bunch of database companies that were all vying for domination. And most of them were better than Oracle. They were technically better. The code was better. Everything was better. You talk to any of the higher level technicians, and they were all saying, Ingress and Informix and Sybase, they're all better, right? And I interacted with all those companies. And the thing I kept looking at was the other people kept, the non-Oracles kept saying, oh no, we got to make it better. We got to focus on our technology, because our technology is so superior that everyone will just come to us because it's so much better. Oracle took a completely different approach. Oracle basically said, we're going to go out and hire assassins as basically our marketing organization. We're going to go out and we're going to penetrate the market space. Then we'll come back and fix the problems once we get feedback from actual customers, as opposed to engineers saying, well, this will make it better or that'll make it better. So a number of books that were written about this. One was called Crossing the Chasm. And this was in the high-tech days, where you get up to a certain point, you get to all the early adapters, and then there's this chasm. How am I going to get from early adapter into the mainstream, right? Crossing that chasm was where most companies will fail. So Oracle created another book called Inside the Tornado. And the Inside the Tornado model is, we're not going to worry about making all these improvements. We're going to penetrate the market. We're going to create this tornado effect. We're going to land on the other side. We're going to capture a bigger percentage of the market. Then we'll go back and make updates. Then we'll make changes. Then we'll make improvements. All right. Well, they did that so well. The other people are all gone. They're gone. Oracle, being a very arrogant bunch of people that they were, my office in Emeryville, California, I could see Sybase headquarters from my window. I could see it. And as Sybase is struggling, Oracle brings in a tractor trailer recruitment center, parks it across the street from Sybase. And during the breaks, you see all these Sybase engineers going in, applying, and basically going back in and quitting. It's simply a sense of arrogance. I'm going to focus on my superiority, as opposed to saying, well, what does the market want? What do people want? Even in a relationship, a personal relationship, what does my potential partner want? What do they like? What's important to them, as opposed to, well, this is important to me, and this is how I'm going to stay focused. the computer battles, when it was the bunch, it was IBM and the bunch. And the bunch was Burroughs and Univac and NCR, BUNCA, CDC, and Honeywell. Okay. Well, all those bunch said, we're going to take on IBM at their strength. We're going to go after the mainframe. Okay. In the first place, they didn't have anything big enough to go after the mainframe. And secondly, it was a losing proposition because IBM controlled how, not only the mainframe, but they also controlled how you communicate to the mainframe. Okay. So all these organizations wasted so much time and energy chasing something that was that they could not attain. It was unattainable, but there was hubris and there was this arrogance and that I'm smarter than Thomas Watson at IBM and damn it, I'm going to dethrone him. They're gone. NCR still exists, but it's a shadow of what it once was. The other people are pretty much gone.
Wow. So it sounds like a lot of getting away from the unreachable dream is not to chase it, but to strategize, to understand the market, understand the people, what your strengths are. And it sounds like those that went outside the box thinking were able to overrun or, go beyond what other people said they couldn't do. Exactly. The Apple story versus BlueBerry, the iPhone versus the BlackBerry. BlackBerry. That's one of those fruit. Blueberry. I don't think I know Blueberry.
One of those fruit. Anyway, their idea was, and I dealt with these people, and they said the only people who need a phone are business executives, and basically it was something like a pager. It was a pager-based model, right? Steve Jobs and his people said, no. Everybody needs a phone. Everybody didn't need a phone, but he convinced the world that everybody needs a phone. Yeah. So now you got kids with phones. Everybody else has got a phone. The market explodes. Apple dominates this space. The BlackBerry people are still wondering what the hell happened. They're still wondering what happened. And we were superior in this. We were superior in that. What you missed the mark. It's simply not. It's a lack of awareness of what's going on. And you said in the beginning, change is the only constant in life, in every area of life, is that it's going to change. And so are you ready to adapt to whatever it is that's coming down the road? And are you smart enough or astute enough or not stubborn enough to say, yeah, we can stay on this. We can ride this wave. And the term I hear all the time that makes me nuts is pivot. Okay. You're not pivoting. You're making a dynamic change. You should already be moving in that direction. A pivot is you're just adjusting what you're currently doing to stay ahead and keep your position in place. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I think in today's super fast pace of change, we almost have to be 10 steps ahead instead of just one or two. Because otherwise, and so many people are going into entrepreneurship and startups that, and as you said at one point, they're all vying to be in the top, to be seen, to be heard. And that makes me think about that next chapter that you have, the wellness process, and how the change can be very stressful. And people, I think, are more stressed today than ever before. And managing that stress is very important in order to be successful in personal and business relationships and not be stuck in the fears of the uncertainty of the future and anything else that's causing stress. So I want to touch base on well health versus sick health and the toxicity of people and environments.
That's a great point. That is so good. I've talked with a number of medical doctors. Now we're going to be opening up a series of wellness clinics, and hopefully, they'll be coming out before the end of the year. And we met with a number of MD doctors, and as we're talking to these MD doctors, they're saying we're not helping anybody. Standard of practice is you're sick. Here, I give you this pill. That didn't help. Oh, wait, there's 4 other pills in that category I can give you. Now you're going to deal with side effects and whatever else is going to take place. One of the few good things about COVID was people got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Mm-hmm. I've had enough. The medical system isn't working, not so much the medical system, the healthcare system, because we don't have a healthcare system. We have a disease control management. We wait for people to get sick. Allopathic medicine, that's the way it's been forever. Wait for it to break, wait for them to get sick, then treat the illness or the symptoms, right?
Right.
Not going to work. It is failing miserably, okay? So people have finally said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. So now they're looking for alternatives. Should I use energy psychology? Should I use energy medicine? Should I do things like meditation? Should I do things like Reiki? Should I do yoga? There's a lot of other ways that you can take control of your wellness.
Yeah.
And there's a place for the allopathic. If you need surgery, okay, you got to have surgery, you got to have that done. But if it's stress and anxiety and isolation and fear, which we had it before COVID, it went through the roof with COVID. And part of what I'm seeing is that's why so many people are leaving. They call it the Great Resignation. Why so many people are leaving the job? I don't need this. I'm not going to put up with this anymore. I realize what my value is, and I'm not going to go back to the old model. Same with the healthcare system. It is so terrible that businesses, and we've been approached by a number of businesses who have said, I got to do something here. I can't keep people. They're leaving in droves. And what is it that I need to do? And I said, well, first off, the number one thing employees care about is, do you care about them?
Right.
It's not about the money helps, but that's not the number one reason. So if you will come in and run your wellness center in your facility, and because we have professionals who know what they're doing, and they said, well, we've tried that. No, don't give me that. Look, everybody's tried it. And what you do is you assign some junior level person who's on their way up, and you say, you're in charge of putting a wellness program together. The person knows if I don't do anything stupid for 2 to 3 years, I'm going to get transferred and move up. So they start the program, they get transferred out. New person comes in and says, why are we doing this? We're only getting 20% participation. They kill the project, right? It's on and on. So when the next guy comes in and says, we're going to do this, the employees naturally look at it and say, yeah, right. Here we go again. Same circus, different clowns, as they used to say. But it's very important to focus on wellness, to let's put ourselves in position to do things, lifestyle changes, be it diet or exercise or whatever it is, so that I'm feeling better and I'm avoiding this sickness. Okay, there's ways to do that. And then you go beyond that to energy medicine, where people already have something. And you're a perfect example of someone who had a debilitating illness, chronic illness, and found a way through the energy healing, through self-meditation, through Reiki, through everything you did, you got over that, you got past it. We're able to take care of ourselves, but we've been conditioned that we can't. It's like you can't make decisions on your own because you're not smart enough. You got to tell I am the pharmaceutical organization. I will make the decisions for you. You don't have to worry about it. And people are tired of that.
Well, not only that, but we've been led to believe that we can't think for ourselves. And if we go to someone and say, well, I think this, my body is telling me this, and I feel this, and a lot of times it's ignored, and it's like people are told, especially females, it's all in your head, because a lot of our symptoms can't be seen or diagnosed through an X-ray or some machine, and so it's important, as far as the theme of your book, getting unstuck in the health arena, is to trust your intuition, trust what you're feeling and seek out some alternatives if you're not happy with the medical establishment as it is today. Which brings us to the next subject that I think would be good for us to touch on, which is the unconscious bias and how we deal with people. So, we talked a little bit about the corporate world and dealing with people and their thinking and how it kind of held people back. In the health industry, we just touched on lack of individuals being able to think for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I think if we touch now on the unconscious bias and have a little bit of understanding as to why some of the things that we've already talked about have occurred. But first, I want to start with some quotes you have in your book. You said, Dale Carnegie says, when dealing with people, remember, you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but creatures of emotions, especially women. We're highly emotional creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So when dealing with emotions, they're often riddled with unconscious bias and insecurities that can stifle or paralyze progress if not correctly addressed. And that's by Monica Thacker. So we live in a world, and this is you, I'm quoting you, Frank. We live in a world where first impressions often become lasting. The danger comes when we do not take the time to learn and understand people, cultures, and beliefs that differ from our own. So what's happening these days is we have people with strong opinions, harsh words, misunderstandings, misrepresentation of facts, outright lies, civil discourse, lack of actual having discussions like you and I are having right now. Debates have been replaced with name calling, finger pointing, hostile rhetoric, acts of violence. It's like, where has civility gone, right? So you had said confirmation bias is a really key bias that if people understand what that is and how we may be in that space of confirmation bias, some of these challenges that I just talked about could be either minimized or eliminated.
Exactly. I think confirmation bias is the biggest one that I found in the research for this book, is that people actively seek out thoughts, statements, quotes, even if they're out of context, that support their position. Now, since the internet is in all the social media, that's pretty much the way it is. And I can't tell you how many people I talk to. I say, well, I read or I heard or I saw. Who said it, right? There's no verification or validation, but I'm just confirming what I already believe. So I'm going to keep looking for those little statements. Okay, see, it's right here. Say I'm right and you're wrong, and we've got to get past that. It's not a right and wrong issue. It's a let's discuss it. And one of the things we talk about a lot is dialogue, not communication, because communication is usually a debate. All right, let's have a dialogue. Dialogue is tell me your position and why. And I'll tell you my position and why. Okay. Now we don't have to agree, and we may never agree, but at least we understand where the other person's coming from and why they feel that way. Now, if you're an intelligent, rational person, this may say, okay, I understand that. All right, that makes sense. One of the things we put in there was, as this thing in the Ukraine started coming, and there was a whole big thing about, more immigrants are going to come in, and the immigrants are bad, and all that nonsense. So I reached out and I got people. I didn't know anybody from the Ukraine, but I knew a lot of people from Poland. And so I said, well, tell me, what's the culture like? What are the things that you look for? And the same thing with Persia from Iran, and same thing with India. So I got 3 people, friends, who wrote that up. All right. And at the end, Eileen, everybody wants the same thing. They might do it differently, but they all want to be heard. They all want to be seen. They all want to be respected, and they all want to be included. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what you think, your color, your skin, the language, the God you worship, if you worship one. Who cares? We all want the same thing. And we have to get past that my way is right and your way is wrong. We have to get past that.
Well, I agree. The fact is we're all human. We're all human first before anything else that we put on a label on that human body. And I hope, and I'm sure you hope, that we move through this stage of human development in this process that we're going through quicker, sooner. And hopefully, these healing centers and getting into the corporation will be a catalyst for enabling that to happen. Because, there's other biases that you've listed in your book that I think people would really benefit from to understand those. And I'm just going to read those off for quickly. So
sure.
I recommend people getting your book, not just for these biases, but you really outlined such great material and information that gets you thinking, that really causes a person to understand different perspectives and new perspectives. And then how does that fit into their own life, personal and business? So some of these other biases, which some of them I've never heard of, there's halo effect, horns effect, affinity bias, attribution bias, gender bias, contrast bias, anchoring bias, performance bias, and name bias. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's like, how many, and when I was reading those, I was thinking to myself, do I have that one? Okay. So, I had to think about how I'm interacting with people. And I do like to try to believe that I am not making assumptions, and I'm not judging, and I'm not having any kind of bias. But you mentioned conditioning earlier, and I believe there is some factor involved with the biases of that conditioning that we're not even aware of. It's all unconscious or subconscious.
Correct.
And again, it goes back to bringing ourselves to an awakeness of recognizing an awareness of how we're engaging, how we're responding versus reacting. And in order to get unstuck, we really have to pay attention, right? We have to pay attention to our inner self, but also what's going on outside of us, and how is it impacting us emotionally and mentally and spiritually?
Exactly. That's exactly right. One of the things that the feedback on the 3 books in 12 months, it all made bestseller. Like, oh my God.
You've done great, Frank.
We got feedback to do some workshops, to put some workshops together. So they're coming on July 7, 14, 21, and 28. We're going to have 4 workshops, and we're going to go through 22 different issues that can come up on the business side and your personal side. And a lot of them, Eileen, we don't see coming. As I say it all the time, what you know is not nearly as important as what you don't know. All right. And what you know is not nearly as important as who you know. So part of what's coming, what I've seen in this evolution is, I know this, and so I'm going to stick with this. All right. Well, if you have a business or a personal relationship, things are going to come up. And most of the time, you don't even see it coming. All right. So let's make them aware. I mean, I was 35 years as a corporate executive and a business owner. I stepped on a lot of landmines. I got stuck a lot of times. So here's the things that are going to happen. They're going to happen. Be prepared. At least be aware that, oh yeah, we talked about this, or yeah, we read about this, or there's something to this. Be ready.
Great points. Yes. And if you are aware and prepared, then it's not so much of a blindside or a shock, or you can easily adapt and adjust versus staying stuck and going into that fear mode and not knowing that next step.
Right. Exactly. There's a knee-jerk reaction. And someone told me, I react to situations. And I said, well, that's the wrong thing to do. The right thing to do is to think and then take action, not react. And I said, plus, if you're stuck, think about you're in quicksand. Just put it in that mindset. You're in quicksand. And the more you struggle, the faster you sink.
Right. Good point. Good analogy. Absolutely. So I think we've hit on some great points today. And I hope people are now inspired to get your book and learn more, because you have quite a bit in that book.
Thank you.
And I think your classes, I think, will be very beneficial for those who might need a little boost, or want to just learn a little bit more about those actions and the surprises and how to avoid those landmines. Exactly. Where can people find you and learn more about the classes?
Well, they have a website, which is very simple, frankzaccari.com. Just my name, that's where it is. You can sign up for the workshops. They're going to be short and to the point. So they're going to be no more than an hour, if that. And we're going to go through things very quickly. And if you want more, we'll pick up more later. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I am part of the Biz Catalyst 360 family, as are you. And I'm easy to find. So if you want to find me, I'm very easy to find. We have a TV show together, ROKU TV, and we're interviewing a number of people who have been through a life-altering event, something where, you thought this was going to be your life, and then something happened, and you were like, oh my God, my life is over. but you pick up the pieces. If you pick up the pieces, people have found, and I've done over 200 interviews, people have found that the life afterwards was better than the life they thought they were going to have.
I know, isn't that amazing? When you let go and surrender, sometimes it's better than you could expect.
Exactly.
Yeah, which I think is happening with you, because you got all these great books and all these great opportunities now to help others. And I really appreciate that about you. So thank you, Frank. This has been awesome conversation, and I wish you all the best with your workshops and classes, and looking forward to whatever that next book is going to be.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. We will catch up with you later.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.